how this works. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So yeah, let's not delay further. So let's get started. So let me open the PPT. Below it's capturing screen. All right. Okay. Display capture, right? Okay. Should be capturing the screen. All right. So let me go to this folder. Okay. So the agenda for today is I'll be covering this rollback access role-based access control. Okay. So
Okay, okay.
RBAC is called RBAC in short form. So what it means is role-based access control. So how do you control access to each of the resources that you launch in Azure? Basically, that we are going to see now. Okay.
Okay,
So this is being done by assigning correct roles to certain security principles and defining the right scope. Okay. I'll repeat this statement. This is statement is very important. By giving correct roles, okay, to
okay.
security principles for the correct scope. These three things are important. What I just said is this. I mean, this is the agenda. So I will be going to the RBAC, then we will be creating users, and we'll see how different it looks for different users. Then I'll like a small demo on how RBAC works. And then whatever new user you have created, with that user, we will try to log in and see how the UI looks to the different users. All right.
Okay, and although I'm unable to view your screen.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thanks for reminding. I did not start sharing it. All right. So now, okay.
Okay, now okay, yeah.
Huh. So, so basically, what we do in RBAC is these things. So, what access is intended to be assigned to a particular user? Okay. See,
Okay,
basically,
okay.
we are trying to assign assign access to one user. Okay. Now
Yeah,
you
correct.
should tell Azure like what kind of access you are trying to give him. Whether you want to give him only read access or contributor access or write access or admin access or owner access. So what access you wanted to give to that identity basically. Okay.
So here instead of giving the roles to user, we are directly giving to the service groups, huh?
Uh,
Or
I'll come to that point. Okay,
okay,
we'll go one by one. So first is what? What in the sense what you wanted to give. Okay, you wanted to give him some permission, some access, some permission you wanted to give him. Okay, so
okay,
so permission in the sense some set of permissions. It's like set of permissions. Okay, it's like if you want
mm,
if you say owner, he'll have read access, he'll have write access, he'll have contribute access. So all accesses he will have. So it's like a set of permissions. Okay. So
okay,
Azure has few defined set of permissions and they have named it using roles. Okay. If a role is
okay,
like a data reader role, so data reader will have certain set of permissions to that resource. So that those set of permissions are already listed down and called as a role by Azure. Okay.
okay,
Now data reader is one role. Okay. Now what data reader will has? He has certain set of accesses, like he can go and read the data. Okay. Then if
okay,
I have a role like owner role will have all the accesses. He can read the data, he can update the data, he can delete the data, or he can insert the data. So all these permissions he has on that particular resource. So that is another role. Like that, So Azure has few defined set of roles. Okay. So
Okay,
you
okay,
can choose from whatever roles Azure has given you. If you feel that for this reason it is sufficient if I give him reader role, then you choose that particular role. Okay. Or if you
okay,
need, he is the developer who will be working on that, he need more than reader role. He might have to update the data. Then give him other role, like choose contributor role. Or if you want, he need full set of accesses, give him owner role. Okay.
okay,
Like that is what called as role. So Azure already have few set of roles. You can choose from those roles. Or if you want to create your own role, you can create that own role, call it some name, and you can assign that role also. Okay.
okay, okay,
That is called role. Then there is something called security principle. So security principle is like to whom you want to assign that role. Okay. Whom in the
okay,
sense
okay,
any identity. It can be user, it can be group, it can be service principal. Okay. Here it's mentioned applications. Applications are service principal. These terms are also important because this is how Microsoft documentation will be. This is how the examination will be. This is how even you find the terminology in the Azure portal. Okay. So you should know this terminology. Okay. You cannot use layman terms here. We should go by the terminology used by Azure only. Okay. So they are calling security principle. What is security principle is? Security principle is any one Azure object. It's like an identity. Okay.
okay,
That identity can be single person. If it's a single person, he'll have a username. If it's a
okay,
team, let's like development team, testing team, reporting team, like that, if it's there, then you will have something called group.
నిన్న రాకుండా మీరు
Okay.
ఆడికి వచ్చినప్పుడు
Apart
పిల్లని
from these two, there'll be another thing called service principle. So what is service principle? Service principle is an identity given to an application or one resource. Okay. It's like data factory or SQL server or Databricks. So that is also an application. Now, if Databricks try to access storage location, Databricks will not have any username and password, or it will not have any group. It is one application that is trying to access the data. Okay. So your security principle can be a user, it can be a group, or it can be a service principle. Okay. Now that is called who. Now you know what role to be given and whom it should be given. It should be given either to Shankar or to development team or to ADF, which is created by his team or him. Okay.
okay.
These two things are clear, right? So
Yeah.
next thing is scope. So um you are giving some role. I mean, you are assigning some role to some user or some group or application service principal. But so what is the scope of this role? Will it be only for this resource or will it be all the resources which are below this resource? Basically, is it at the resource group level, or is it at the resource level, or is it at the subscription level, or is it at the managed identity level? In the last session I showed you, right? There are different hierarchies. It can be resource, resource group, or subscription, or the managed identity. Okay. So
Okay,
these
okay,
roles are inherited. Suppose if you give, if you define the scope at resource group level, then these roles are inherited by all the resources which are falling under that resource group.
okay, okay,
Okay. So this is it. This is all. Okay. This is called RBAC. RBAC is called assign role-based access control, assigning roles to security principles and defining the scope. These three
okay,
things: assigning the roles, To whom? To the security principal and defining the scope. If
Scope.
you if
Okay.
you use if you do all these three things, it's like you have configured RBAC, role-based
Okay.
access control. Okay. So what are the features of RBAC? So for role-based access to control, the key features are other authorized system is built on ARM, Azure Resource Manager. So Azure Resource Manager is the main service that is responsible for launching any resource. Any resource you want to launch in Azure, it should go via ARM. In my last session, I showed you there are multiple ways to talk to Azure. It can be using Portal, or it can be using PowerShell, it can be using Bash Shell, or it can be using REST APIs. If you remember, I have shown that in my last session. So basically, from all these different kinds of interfaces, you talk to something called ARM, Azure Resource Manager, and Azure Resource Manager in turn will launch that service to you. If you don't remember, I'll just show you. This is the one I'm talking about. So how do you talk to ARM? Using Azure Portal or Azure PowerShell or Azure CLI or REST APIs. So this is ARM. This is the same ARM I'm telling. So your authorization system is built on ARM. So this is the ARM. So here I have shown you the authentication, right? So this authentication is nothing but it happens using RBAC. Okay. So what is authentication? Authentication is verifying whether that whatever request has come from the right user and is he asking for the right thing. Let's suppose now Shankar is asking. So I want to update the data. So now that resource has to check whether Shankar has access to that resource. Second thing, whether he has the right role or not. He can have access, but still does he have right role? He can have only read role, which is not enough. So it will check whether he has the correct role or not. If he has the right role, then it will check is it within the scope of Shankar. Scope is also important. It will check all these three things. This is called authentication. If this authentication passes, then it will let that user perform that operation. Okay. So this
Okay.
authorization
Okay.
system is built on ARM. Okay. Why is it done? Is it done for fine-grained access control of Azure resources, fine-grained access management. So it's a fine-grained access management, right? Because you are telling what permission should be there, who should have the permission, and what is the scope of that permission. So that is nothing but fine-grained access management. Okay. So
Okay.
what are the three steps? First, a role definition you have to give, like list of the permissions like create VM, delete VM, assign permission, etc. So all these are role definitions. Security principles, it can be user group or service principal and managed identity. So these four things, user group, service principal and managed identity. Okay. What is the other thing? Scope. What is the scope? It can be only for that resource or for the entire resource group or for the entire subscription or for the entire management group. All right.
Okay.
So then the scopes are hierarchical. As I said, if you give any scope at the management level, so all the subscription within that management group will inherit those roles. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Similarly, resource group and the resources. So built-in and custom roles are supported. So built-in are which are already provided by the Azure. And if you want to create your custom roles, you can create them and then start using them. So this is what this RBAC is talking about. All right.
Okay. Okay.
So then how does the process for the RBAC, what is the process? Okay. I'll show this. I think you will understand this more after the demo, but
Okay.
I'll quickly walk you through this, and after the demo, I again will come back. Okay, I think I don't, and let come to this after the demo. All right, all right, Shankar.
Altaf, otherwise, can we connect tomorrow or today
You have some
sometime?
work, huh?
Because some work, some persons came into my house, so
All right, okay.
That's why just now only they came.
All right,
Sorry
Shankar.
for that.
All right then. So fine. So let's connect tomorrow then. Okay.
Yeah, even answer
And
also will join.
yeah, check with answer and uh, all right. So bring in if any of your friends also want to join.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. I think it's
Because whatever I
one,
am
but
saying so far is it's just like introductory section sessions. Once I
okay.
have these things, because I do not have the agenda ready or the contents ready. Once I have them ready, so
Yeah,
I'll
we'll start
huh,
freshly.
then from the beginning I'll start. So like, check with
Okay,
your
okay,
friends if any of them are interested to know. Okay, like I'll be
okay, okay.
going more practically from the coming classes. So try to bring them. Okay.
Okay, sure. Abba.
All right, Shankar, you can drop off.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So, yeah. So I was telling about RBAC, right? So, all right. So, let me launch one resource and try to assign roles to that resource. All right. So, let me create a new resource group. So, I'm creating a new resource group called test resource group. Okay. I'll name it as a test resource group. So, under test RG. Okay. And then I'm creating this resource group, review and create. So I'm creating this resource group. So once I create this resource group, I'll try to assign the RBAC permissions to this. All right. So I'll go to IAM. IAM is where we can assign the roles. Now to this resource, I wanted to assign one RBAC, rollbacks access control. So add role assignment. So I'm assigning a reader role to whom? To user. Who is that user? Demo user. Select. Review and assign. Assign. Okay. So I have given reader role to user on this. Okay. Now I'll go to users and see. Hello. అవును మచ్చా ఏమే అవును